Hello, my friend. Today's episode is a very special one as I am joined by Zach and Vinny from AbleGamers. Now, in case you don't know, AbleGamers is a charity that has been around for the last 22 years and has done incredible work to help players with disabilities experience the joy, connection, and independence that games can create. And this episode is also the kickoff of something very important to me over at Freaking Cool Indies. As over the next few months, I'm going to be training for the Toronto Marathon and raising funds for AbleGamers throughout the entire process through the Play It Forward campaign. Now, you're going to hear more about that throughout the episode, but first I wanted to start with the bigger question. What does accessibility actually mean for indie developers? Because I think a lot of devs know accessibility matters, but they don't always know where to begin. So in this conversation, Zach and Vinny break down accessibility in a way that feels practical, human, and most importantly, achievable to implement in your game. We talk about the day-to-day of AbleGamers, the real barriers players with disabilities face, why features like remappable controls, subtitles, difficulty options, and adjustable UI can make such a massive difference, as well as the marketing side of things, like why having accessibility in your game can help it reach more players while saving you time, money, and headaches later down the line in production. Now, this episode is not here to make you feel guilty, but instead it is here to help you make better games that more people can actually play. Welcome to Freaking Cool Indies. So first and foremost, Vinny, Zach, welcome to Freaking Cool Indies, and thank you both for all that you do in the accessibility community.
Thanks for having us, man. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, same. It's awesome to be here, Mike, and we're excited to talk your ear off about AbleGamers.
That is exactly what I want to hear all about. So I want to start off with the foundation of things and kind of talking about accessibility. And again, what is AbleGamers? What is it that the charity does? Of course, accessibility is something that I think at this point, most game developers, you hear all the time, but similar to many different things, accessibility is seen more as a bucket as opposed to one particular thing. So that is kind of what I want to be walking and talking with both of you about today, is accessibility and making sure that games are not only accessible, but also that the listeners and the developers out here are also in the know, I should say, about AbleGamers and all of the amazing things that you both do, as well as the team there. So to kick things off, can I ask you guys to walk me through what AbleGamers actually does on a day-to-day, and especially when you guys are working with a specific player in mind?
You want me to go first, Vinny?
Yes, this is your realm, Jack. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I am the manager of our Able Player 1 program, which was formerly called Peer Counseling. What my program does is we meet with players from all over the country in roughly 4 different areas in Canada as well. And we figure out how their body works, what their gaming goals are, what equipment is available for them. We meet with them virtually and kind of chat through some of the options, and then we purchase the equipment for them and send it out to them at no cost to them, follow up virtually, make sure that everything's working for them, and then once they're gaming and satisfied, we leave them alone. And if they need more help later on, they can reach out to us. We can always reopen their ticket. But the biggest way we're able to reach as many people as we do is because we have roughly 25 partner facilities throughout the country. And it varies between children's hospitals, rehab facilities, VA facilities, and things like that. And we have occupational therapists, rec therapists, and people who just want to help people with disabilities game. And we'll send them a base set of equipment so that those players can come in, try it out, open up a ticket and be like, hey, here's what we tried. It's working really well. Or, hey, here's what we tried. It's not going so great. Can you help us out with this other part? And then that's where my team comes in and kind of supplements that help there. And then again, follows up, sends everything to them and makes sure that it's working for them.
I'm guessing you guys help a range of individuals from, levels of accessibility and need. Is that correct?
Yeah, so anybody that can't hold a standard controller, whether it's for the Xbox, PlayStation, the Joy-Cons on the Switch, or a mouse and keyboard, is somebody that we would help with equipment. So even if you can hold a standard controller and it's causing you pain to maybe reach some of the buttons, that would be somebody that we could help. So I think the youngest kid I worked with was like 4, and I think the oldest person I worked with was in their 60s. So there's really no age limit to it. So yeah, anybody that needs our help that can't hold a standard controller and play comfortably is who we would help.
That's awesome. And what's the application process look like? Is it something where, like, just due to budget, things like that, that you are turning people down, or is everyone welcome, and from there, we kind of make it work and figure out how to get these people back gaming?
So we do have a large influx of tickets, and we are a very small team. So we do our best to try to keep up with everything. It's just not in our budget to be able to help as many people who want help each year. There's thousands and thousands of people that reach out to us every year wanting help. And with myself and 2 other guys on my team, it's just not physically possible to reach all those goals, nor is it monetarily possible. I will say what kind of streamlines the process a little bit is having these partner facilities and having these people that understand the equipment in video games that can help us get players into our ticketing system. The people that come from our partner facilities usually get helped quicker just because it's easier to get to them, it's easier to meet with them. But people do reach out independently and fill out tickets, and then we'll help as many people who are reaching out independently as well. And then if we have friends in the industry like Rocky No Hands, who's reached out a couple times with some new players recently, we'll make sure that those people are taken care of too. A goal for me as a manager for our Able Player 1 program would be to obviously have the money to hire more people, to help more people, and to be able to purchase more equipment. I've been in this role for roughly not even 4 months now. So that's something we're definitely working on and definitely looking forward to in the future.
It must be so thrilling for you both to see other companies also, throwing their hat in the ring to help this initiative, and maybe not just Able Gamers, but Microsoft releases their adaptability controller, and I know there's a couple other companies and a couple other people out there who are just doing big things in that space, and I'm sure it must be really exciting for you guys when new pieces of hardware comes out that's more mainstream and accessible to just more people.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like every other day I'm coming across something new that somebody's sending me and they're like, hey, have you tried this yet? I was like, I didn't even know that existed, but yeah, let me add it to my list. One of my favorite things is ordering something new and then just trying it out myself. And then with me living here in DC, I'm able to go to MedStar National Rehab Hospital, and if there's somebody there I think that could benefit from trialing that, I'll take it with me so that they can trial it out too. And then being able to give feedback to these people that are creating these devices is huge too, so that they can help a broader audience and kind of just know how their product is working and how it's helping people. So yeah, it's definitely exciting. Microsoft, PlayStation, Quad Stick, Hori, they're all great. There's a billion other people I could list right now, but yeah, it's really exciting to see that.
And I'm sure even with the rise of 3D printing and how much easier that's becoming too. I'm sure you guys have seen a nice influx of people who are just coming out and, here's a free design to help individuals with ABC, XYZ.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are 3D printing and making modifications to controllers and adaptive controllers even that are very, very helpful for a lot of people. And it's like, how did you come up with that, And it's really cool when they are able to share it and have it as like an open file for people to print on their own. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add is coming from my side, it's really cool to experience the adaptive technology, even as someone without disabilities. We do something at different events where we bring out a player with disabilities, all different kinds of equipment. We just did this at PAX East in Boston, and we're going to do it here soon for Level Up Expo in Vegas. We bring those players out, we bring out their personal care assistant, and we just have them game against people in the community with their adaptive equipment. We usually make whoever's playing them use adaptive equipment, and then you kind of get some kind of an experience of, oh wow, I see how it would be if I had to use this equipment, or the goal for us normally is to have a player who's really good at the game and will just smash everybody. And you can kind of go home with that, like, oh wow, I lost to this guy who can't use his arms, but he still beat me using his mouth or using, whatever adaptive setup they use. And it's a really cool experience to experience yourself.
Do either of you have whether it's a favorite story or just, again, just one of those individuals that you helped out that, just sticks in your mind? Because I could only imagine that, I'm sure the list is long, right? Like these are people in who are not gamers, or people in the outside world who do have, let's say, full functionality, right? It's very easy for us to just go and pick up a controller and play. But I think until you lose that ability, and it just becomes that much harder, right? Like you guys are truly changing people's lives. So I could imagine that the amount of thanks that you get when you do finish helping someone is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding. Vinny, I have a feeling I might be stealing yours here, but I'm going to talk about Carlos. Um, Carlos is a blind fighting game champion player. He lives in Texas. He goes by KH Rattlehead. Shout out Carlos if you listen to this, Carlos. Um, we met him in Chicago at Evo, and we had actually brought one of the quad gods with us, Prentice. Shout out to Prentice. Shout out to quad gods. And Prentice was there as our player who was showing people, like, hey, you can use this equipment and still play video games. And Carlos walks up and he's like, do you mind if I, sit down and play? And we were like, yeah, man, absolutely. And I didn't notice right away that he was totally blind. I thought he maybe was just a cool guy wearing sunglasses indoors, because he had that kind of rock star vibe to him. He's got like long hair, and just he's in a band as well too. He plays drums in a metal band, which is pretty sick. But he sits down, he puts his headphones into his controller, and then just proceeds to mollywop everybody for the next hour. And we learned after his first match that he was totally blind, and we learned that he worked on the accessibility settings for blind and low vision players with Mortal Kombat, with Warner Brothers. So he kind of had a leg up in the competition there when it came to those accessibility features. But he is a dog. He's a beast. He's really good at Street Fighter 6 as well. There are quite a few different blind fighting game players that are just really well known in the community, not just for being blind players, but for being good in general. And it was really cool to see Carlos just destroy everybody that came up there. There was a guy that came up and played, and our director walked over while he was getting beat by Carlos, and he was like, not too shabby for, a guy that can't see, right? And the guy was like, what do you mean he can't see? And he's like, nah. He's like, you guys are messing with me. You guys are trolling with me. The next match starts, and my boss steps directly in front of Carlos while he's playing. Carlos continues to destroy this guy, and then he looks over at my boss, looks over at the guy, and he goes, you sure? And the guy's like, oh my God. So, like, just seeing people's reaction to that is really, really cool. Because that guy probably didn't show up expecting to get beat in a fighting
1,000%.
game by somebody that can't see at all. You know what I mean? And then he went home and probably told a bunch of people, like, hey, either he told no one or he went home and told a bunch of people. You know what I mean? So just things like that, they happen quite often, and it's actually really, really cool to see. And it's really, really, it's really a great way for us to kind of get the message out there. Like, hey, regardless of what abilities or disabilities or conditions you may have, you can still game. You can still game. There's a way to do it, and we'll help you figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, me and Zach both love that story. So, I mean, we actually, adding to it a little bit, we got to bring Carlos out to Evo in Vegas, which is one of the biggest fighting game tournament events. And he placed 64th in the actual tournament. And then we had him playing people against the community, and I think he lost like 7 or 8 games the entire weekend. And two of them were to other people with disabilities, one being another blind player named Blind Warrior Sven, who has a YouTube channel as well. And then another one being a 14-year-old kid named Tyson, who had one arm. And he was absolutely insane at Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So That was really cool. For me, obviously, Zach gets to work a lot one-on-one with the players. He's talking to the players a lot more than I am, although we have like a Discord and we have a good community of people that just kind of get to talk about different stuff. So for me, I think I won't say I have a favorite story necessarily, but I'll say that like I have stories that are really close to me in terms of just like stories of the players that we've helped. I did a lot of, you know, community building and things like that, and getting to talk to some of these players and learn their experience of people who, played football at a collegiate level, and got in an accident, and now they went from being an all-star athlete to playing Madden because AbleGamers was able to help them, and it makes them feel like they're on the field again. Or we have a player on our team, Aaron, who's an adaptive gaming specialist as well, um, who shares his stories with us, and the different community building that gaming has gave to him that he wouldn't have otherwise, with a prominent disability. So that's the kind of thing that's close to my heart, is learning those stories, talking to the different players that we've helped, and players that we haven't helped, that get a spark in their eye when they find out that something like this exists. And even if they don't need the equipment themselves, because there definitely are some people who figured it out themselves and they're like, why would I change what I'm doing? We have a guy we brought out to Italy for our international adaptive gaming tournament, a couple weeks ago, and he has one arm and one leg. His name's David Myers. Shout out to you, David. He won 2 gold medals in our event, with one arm and one leg, but he plays with a standard controller with thumb grips, and he uses his mouth to use the joysticks while he's playing. And absolute dog. But just stories like that, man. He's like, why would I need an adaptive controller? I've been doing this for 20 years with my mouth. He's like, I think I would be worse. We're like, yeah. So like, but either way, people figure it out or they don't. And that's what we're here for, is, to add to that, and to build and add those people to our community and help others that may need the help. So
It's wicked. Shout out to all of the goats that have been mentioned in this little segment here. It's absolutely wicked. And again, shout out to both of you, right? Like, this is why, for me, Able Gamers, it's a charity that I've known about for many years. But it's just one that, if I'm going to put my name and my brand and my reputation behind someone, like, I'm just so excited that it is partnering with you both in the entire team, because it's just a great cause. It's a really great cause. So for that, I thank you. But let us continue on in this beautiful conversation. And I want to dive into, again, what does accessibility actually mean from a game dev perspective? And once again, I know that neither of you are on that game dev side of things, where you're going to be the experts on the exact how to implement it into the game. But I'm sure that through your years, and through your experience with Able Gamers and just this community in general, that you'll have some good insights here. So the first one I want to start off with is, what category of disability do you typically see a lot of devs overlook? And again, this could be more from like the motor or visual, auditory, cognitive, different sides there. But when you're speaking with players, what categories are they often saying that they wish they could see more of it within a game?
man, that's a loaded one.
Yeah, I've got a few just off the top of my head. I mean, we were just talking about how, some fighting games are really great for blind and low vision players, and then the majority of other games are really not that great for blind and low vision players. I'm sure there are some out there who've done some really great job at making them accessible, but the majority of games are really hard to play for people who are blind or have low vision. Another one I would say, like, cognitive can be an issue as well. If you don't have like some of these harder games where maybe there's no arrow telling you where to go next, or there's no like text that's like, hey, maybe try this, or it's not giving you any hints or any clues, that can be really challenging for people. Even me, I've been playing High on Life 2 recently, and I use the navigation thing anytime I'm going anywhere, because otherwise I would be totally lost. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know where to go in the game. And I think also giving people an opportunity to have a tutorial somewhere in the game, whether it's from the main menu or accessing it through playing the game, and having different levels of difficulty for the game is something that people overlook. Games like, Dark Souls and Elden Ring, beautiful games, some of my favorite games. There's only really one like challenge or like game mode on there, and it's hard. It's hard. It's always hard. It's always going to be hard. If there was an option to maybe, you know, slow down some of the fighting on there, or maybe make some of the enemies a little less challenging, or at least give the player an option to do that, and maybe being able to go back and forth on what the settings are. They're like, okay, this guy was too easy to beat, let's put him here. Okay, that was a little more challenging, let's keep these guys here. Just giving people an option to make their games, I guess, easier or harder, is always great. And then having that tutorial, allowing them to practice the game before they actually go in and start playing for real, is something that's huge for a lot of people too, and something that a lot of games already have built in. But it would be nice if every single game kind of gave you an opportunity to practice from the main menu before you actually hop into the story mode or hop in online or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I know, especially with like the Souls-like style of games, right? Like I think it was Sekiro that kind of got not flack by any means, but there was some coverage that the fact that there's no difficulty setting, there's no real. It's kind of like you get the game and that's the game type of deal. And once again, I definitely recognize for the standard player, that's the game and experience they want to get. But then that also there are so many people out there who just like, all right, well that game is off the board now, right? I'm sure there's many awesome people in the community who would say, all right, bet, like, let's do it. But for the most part,
the biggest thing that I hear from the disability community around that is it's like your Dark Souls or your Sekiro or whatever, and like you want to give your main player base this experience of this game is hard. You're not going to make it any easier. Like if you get through it, it's an accomplishment. And we constantly hear from game devs that have that kind of idea for their games, that it's like, well, if I make an easier mode for my game, then it's not, there's that main player base doesn't get to experience that because somebody else can go and make it easy and do whatever. But there's so many ways around that as a dev, right? Like, let's just use Dark Souls again as an example. I mean, super ridiculously hard game, or Elden Ring, right? Either one. If there was let's say achievements got turned off by messing with any of the settings, and you don't get any of the stuff at the end of the game, whatever it is, players with disabilities want to just participate, right? They don't need it. They don't need all of the fancy stuff. They don't need, like, that'd be great. Obviously, I still think that that's a fantastic way to do it. But if you can't even play the game, I mean, they want to experience what it's like. And maybe they could start, even people without disabilities, start at an easier mode, learn some stuff, and maybe they could work their way to being able to beat the game. So there's tons of stuff like that. But the number one setting or game developer function that I hear constantly is controller remapping. Something that's so simple, and it limits the mass majority of players from playing a game. And the reason for that is all the different accessible equipment, right? They have kind of in-house software for some of them, but a lot of them need that controller remapping to work well. And then you're going to compound that with the fact that you could have 20 players that have the exact same disability, that want to play the exact same game, the exact same skill level, but at the end of the day, people with disabilities are just people, right? And you and I have a different preference on how we want our controls. Me and Zach have a different preference. It's the same thing when it comes to players with disabilities. Those 20 players may all want to play their game slightly different with that adaptive controller, even if they put their buttons in the same place. Maybe they want B to be jump and A to be run, whatever is the most comfortable for those players. So adding just that single feature of controller remapping is a detrimental change to the amount of people that can play your game. I'll give a good example here for a ridiculously hardcore game. I use it all the time. Zach's probably tired of me talking about it, but I know the developers, I know some of the content creators for this game, and they're all amazing. It's Escape from Tarkov. So Escape from Tarkov, traditionally super hardcore game. I mean, they just added a tutorial recently, which is great, but that doesn't help much. I mean, it's a hardcore game. but it has fully customizable remappable options. Every single input in the game, and there's a lot of them, can be completely remapped to whatever you want. Different holds, different presses. And because of that, there's a large community of players with profound disabilities using a quad stick, which is a controller that you use completely with your mouth, using, pretty advanced adaptive controller setups that can play that game. Now, maybe they're sitting in a bush, you know, hitting people from behind. Maybe they're not as fast paced. Maybe they can't do it as fast, but they can play the game. And that's like such a huge, just that's the first step, right? Not every, it's impossible to make your game accessible to everybody. It's literally impossible. You will not. Last of Us 2 did a fantastic job with their disability. They got awards for it. So there's some players that can't play Last of Us 2. It's just there's too many different disabilities and there's different things, but there's things you can do to increase the amount of people that can play your game. And the more people that can play your game, if you're a game studio, devs, if you're listening, that means the more money that your studio can make as well. The greater community that your game can have. So there's a study that was done in like 2023. I believe it's Human Kinetics that says that there is around 71 million players in the US who are gamers with disabilities, and something like 400 million people estimated globally that are just people with disabilities trying to game, which means that's a massive market of people that a game developer could tap into by just making their game slightly more accessible, right? So
one thing that honestly sticks to mind too, and I think making the case for, the more accessible your game is, the more people can actually play it, which, in turn more sales, right? I think it's a perfect correlation there. And I know in a recent episode, actually two episodes that come to mind. Number one, I did one with Ruan Fernando, and it's all about UX. So, again, we did speak about accessibility and UX. So if you do want to hear more, I would definitely go check out that episode there. But
I was just going to say, Stephen White, who does our APX training program, has always said to me and just people in general that, if you make things accessible, not just video games, just anything in general, you make it easier for everybody and not just people with disabilities. So, like, accessibility is great for everyone and not just folks with disabilities. Obviously, it helps folks with disabilities, but making things more accessible is just good for the whole human population in general.
And Zach, actually, that's exactly where I was going next, is the APX program. And again, I was wondering if you could kind of shine a little bit of light on, what it is and how it helps game developers, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are listening. Hey, maybe I just don't, like, I want to make my game more accessible. I just also don't know kind of where to start.
Yeah, so APX stands for Accessible Player Experience. And I had the opportunity when I first got hired onto AbleGamers to take the course. And I have a background in teaching as well, so I was super excited to learn from Steve about all this because it's not something I had, previously learned about while I was in school. But Steve does a very, very good job at covering different sections of barriers that may prevent people from playing the game and how you can change those in your game. Right now, we're offering, I think, roughly 6 APX training courses throughout the year. If people are interested, definitely just go on our website, ablegamers.org, and see what classes are available. They usually fill up pretty quickly. Steve's a popular guy. But yeah, he does... Some of his trainings are like a day long, and it's like a full day. Some of them are broken up into 2 days. Some of them are broken up into 3. It just really depends on who's taking the course and what they're available to take. I think mine was 2 days, and each was like 4 to 5 hours long. Steve does a really good job, like I said, of leading you through and giving you examples of things I would have never even thought of. So like somebody that has arachnophobia, being able to take the legs and eyeballs off of spiders in games and they just look like little milk duds moving across the screen. I thought was interesting. And Vinny mentioned this earlier, Last of Us 2, being able to go prone in that game and nobody has any idea that you're there until you pop back up. So it kind of gives you time to think about, what your next move is in the game. Being able to turn off blood in the games, being able to turn off things like that you don't really think about, like people with PTSD getting triggered by some of these things in these games. it's just really, really interesting because you may, be working on accessibility in your game and think, all right, I've got everything covered that I can, pretty easily get to. And then you take Steve's class and you're like, oh man, I probably should go back and and adjust a couple of things. But yeah, it's even if you're not a game developer and you're just interested in accessibility in video games in general on the software side of things, I highly recommend taking the APX course for sure.
That's cool. Do you know roughly how much the course costs?
I do not know the cost off the top of my head.
It's
Vinny,
around like yeah, it's around like $1,800 a seat.
Okay.
But the history of the course is sort of it's built to work with everyone. So there is like let's say you're an indie developer with a really small team and not a big accessibility budget. There is
Mhm.
courses that are tailored to you to lower the cost, figure out what's going to work for you. Because at the end of the day, obviously, the money all goes back to AbleGamers and helping more players and improving that experience and getting more players equipment and things like that. But we don't want to push anybody away from being able to make their game accessible, right? So
Mhm.
it's the standard price is about 1,800. There's also private trainings that are offered. I believe those prices are a tiny bit more expensive, maybe looking at like the 2,200 range per seat. A lot of times those are like studios that they want all their developers to take the course. And what the private trainings do is that they talk specifically about your game and where your game level is at, what accessibility you're trying to get to, some things you might not think of, and the entire course is just kind of around your developer team. So that's a really cool one. But yeah, like Zach said, most of us have taken the APX course. I've coded about as many times as Zach has beat me in any video game, so it's very low. And,
ask
but
him about FC after this, Mike. Ask him what his FC record is after this.
it's the only one. He's got me in that one.
0
All the
wins
other
for
ones
you.
though. But yeah, so I don't know much about game developing or coding or any of that kind of stuff, but like Zach said, there's a lot of like really cool information in the course that has helped me understand my job and the players that I'm working with, and even games when I'm playing them. Right, like you just learn so much about like I'm playing a game and there's this setting in here that I've seen my entire life. I'm like, why is that setting in this game? It's like that doesn't make any sense. I've never used it. And then you hear somebody that's like, if this setting wasn't in this game, I literally couldn't play it. And I'm like, that's insane. It's mind blowing. So like the biggest thing that I will leave everybody with as far as accessibility goes is the if you think about accessibility from the ground while you're building your game at the beginning
Mhm.
and how you can incorporate it, it costs vastly much less money, resources, time. If you make your game and then go, oh, now we should try to make it accessible. It's a lot harder. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder. So that's the best advice I could give a developer is to just think about it from the ground when you're building your
Yeah.
game, and then all of your games you'll get better, and all of your games will just become more accessible over time as well.
Yeah, that's
If you
great
have
advice. And
questions, reach out to us and we'll get you connected. We'll either know the answer or we'll get you connected with somebody that does. So, yeah, like Vinny was saying, start by thinking about accessibility when you're making your games.
yeah,
Because it's almost impossible to go back, and it's not impossible, but it's a huge pain to go back and
Just
adjust it.
costs a lot more money and time to go
Yeah,
back after
yeah,
your game's done.
yeah. So it's
So that
impossible.
accessibility budget
Yeah.
thing about everybody, because we hear a lot, we just don't have the budget for accessibility, and it's like you don't need a budget if you just think about it early. You just incorporate it into the way your game is being made, and
Mhm.
it, after the game is made and you have to go back through and try to change menu options and do all of that, then maybe it costs a little bit of money and need a budget for that. So
And like you said earlier, Vinny, like more people are able to play the game, the more money they're going to make. So if you start from the beginning, make it accessible for more people, you're going to get that money back in your accessibility budget because more people are going to be able to play.
And again, I will definitely in the links below. Please, I'll have all the resources that have been mentioned today. Obviously, we'll make sure that anyone who is watching can get in touch with both of you or with Able Gamers or with anyone that we need to in order to help them get the information that they need to continue through. as we come closer to the end, I do want to talk about the initiative that I'm doing, but more so, I want to use this time to also help talk about what does donation do for able gamers, right? And how at what cost point can we buy certain things, or how much do some of these rigs cost? Because again, I think it is important for people to know that just how expensive or where their money is going. So myself, I am doing a Play It Forward campaign. It's a part of Freaking Cool Indies that even way before me starting Freaking Cool Indies, I always knew that if and when the time came that I'm doing this, that I wanted to have a charity and a giving back element of it. So I'm going to be running the Toronto Marathon in October of 2026. And as part of that, I'm going to be raising funds for able gamers, and it's something that I'm incredibly excited about. And I have a couple different goals that I would love to hit. Obviously, I think like my if I could hit $10,000 raise, I will lose my mind of excitement. But I recognize that with any fundraising, it's important to let's start small. Let's start maybe a little more realistic, especially for a first time fundraiser, and then we kind of keep going and building. But for anyone who's out there who again wants to get involved with the charity. Again, I'm sure people can donate anywhere as low as $5 and up to as much as they are able to. But what does that money do, and kind of where does it go, and what does that money buy?
Right. I'll speak on it real quick, Zach, and then I'll let you take over since I know you're the one that sends out the equipment. We did, I think a year or two ago, we kind of like sat down and figured out what the average pricing of different things to help different players are. So this is off the top of my head, but I think it's pretty close. I want to say this: an average setup for a player. Like keep in mind that when players can't afford the equipment, which is common since being disabled is extremely expensive already, then we grant that equipment to them for free. That comes out of AbleGamers money. Those donations, that is one of our bigger expenses, is sending equipment to players. And an average setup for a player is around $565. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what they all cost. Some of them can be up to 25, 3,500. Sometimes, they need a laptop, they need a console, and some of that comes into it. Sometimes it's easier. And then the average cost to help a player completely, that is like factoring in, Zach and his team's time, the different equipment, maybe sending things back and forth, the shipping costs and those kind of things, comes out to around $1,200 per player helped is the average for that. So every $1,200 raised, you can say you're on average helping one person be able to game, right? So that's a huge deal to be able to do that. So let's say you crush your fundraising goal, Mike, of 10K. You're almost helping 10 players be able to experience video games, right? Like that's amazing. And most of the money that AbleGamers raises either goes into Zach's programming with Able Player One, helping players be able to play, goes into R&D, UX kind of stuff for APX, and making sure that there's better processes for things, because every year more adaptive equipment comes out. Somebody figures out how to 3D print something that cost $75 previously, so our costs go down, which means we can help more players, and the list goes on. So I'll let Zach add anything he has to that.
Yeah, I think Vinny pretty much covered it pretty well. It ultimately no, you're totally fine, actually. I think it ultimately just depends on the person and how they're trying to play, what they're trying to play, what they're playing on, and how quickly they respond to me or things like that. Because sometimes you'll meet with somebody and within a week you've already met, you've already chatted about the equipment, you already know what they're getting sent. It's sent to them by the end of the week. They're playing video games. Boom. Took 1 week. And then other people, it's a lot of back and forth. It's like people with disabilities have so many different appointments and other things that they got to do. And oftentimes when they're leaving their house, it's not for anything fun. It's to go to the doctor or to go to some kind of appointment that they probably don't want to be at. So the time thing is another, I don't want to say issue. It's because it's not an issue. The time thing is what I would say could potentially cost a little bit more money. But there's solutions that are $29.99 out of the box that might work for somebody. And then, as Vinny said, you get a quad stick. That's a couple $100. You get the mount for it. That's another couple $100. They need a laptop. And we don't outright purchase consoles or laptops for people. If we have some that have been donated, we're happy to share those when we have them available. But yeah, it really just ultimately depends on the person and how much time we're spending with them and what they need. And okay, we sent over option A. 90% of that option is working well. 10% of it's not. We got to figure out the other 10%. We got to send them some more stuff, and then follow up. Okay, so maybe we've got it 95% figured out, and we need to add something else to it. It just really, really just depends on the person, and what they're trying to do. So yeah,
Right.
Awesome.
And to answer the second part of your question, Mike, ablegamers.org. There's donate links. There's also a shop, so you can get some cool merch. As a charity, anything that you buy on the shop, obviously, it's 100% donation back to the nonprofit. So we do that. We have the online shop, and then we also travel to 25 to 30 shows a year. We do PAXs and Comic-Con and a bunch of others. So if you see us at one of those events or you follow our socials and we find out we're going to one of those events, anything you buy at our merch booth at those shows 100% goes back to, helping more players be able to play. So
Wicked. You guys got to hurry up and update that shop. I want those cool new shirts that you both have on. I want it.
they're on the shop, but all of our inventory is going to Vegas right now, so we don't have them back. But when they're back, they'll be highlighted on the shop. So
amazing.
I'm just hitting right now.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. All right, guys. So the way I like to end all of my episodes is to have my guests play it forward and shout out an indie game, an indie project, an indie studio that you both have been loving and enjoying, and someone that you think deserves more eyes on their work. So I'll pass the mic over to let's start. Zach, I'll start with you, and then Vinny, you can jump in after that.
I think this game already got its flowers and then also got some pushback. But my favorite game in general of 2025 was Expedition 33. It's fantastic. I have never been a fan. It is.
It's kind of an
indie.
They have a small team.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, it's an indie dev team. What do you mean? Look it up. Well, now you threw me off, Vinny. Yeah, good. E33, awesome game. I have never been a fan of turn-based games. I beat the entire storyline, whatever you want to call it, in roughly 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. Yeah, I could not put it down. I could not stop playing it. Hades is a cool game, too. I've always liked Hades. Are you going to say something about that one, too, Vinny? Or...
No.
Okay.
I loved Expedition 33. I loved everything about it. If they are actually an indie studio, I'm so sorry. I did not know that. If they are, that is insane, and you guys deserve way more credit than you've already gotten. But that's insane. Their art style is insane. Their graphics are great. The gameplay is awesome. So I did not know that they were an indie studio if they are. I didn't know they were a small team. But for mine, I will say it's a friend of Zach and I's, Mike Strolart, has a studio that makes a game that's on Steam called Below the Stone. This guy is a legend. The game is absolutely awesome. And I believe that there is updates coming to the game soon as well. So it's like a dungeon crawler style game. The art's great. Really small team. And I mean, Mike and his team are amazing people. Like, just the greatest people. Go buy their game on Steam. It supports their studio, really small studio, but it's awesome. Below the Stone.
Such a fun game too. It's another game that I don't normally play, and I sat there and played for 3 hours the first time I played it. And I played with mouse and keyboard, and I'm such a controller guy, but I was like, I have to play. So I played with mouse and keyboard. It was awesome. It's a fantastic game. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both for your time, for your knowledge, for your help with all of this, and for everything that you both do. Again, I know there's also a team around you. It's not a huge team, but there is a team. But you know, what you both and the rest of the team at AbleGamers do is something that you guys should be very, very proud of. So thank you again for not just coming on the show, but for everything that you guys are doing and spending your days building and getting into the world. So with that, you both are officially freaking cool indies. This is my little fake gavel, so it is official at this point. I will be, like I said before, I will be putting in the description, in the show notes, all of the links that you will need to get in touch with Zach, with Vinny, with AbleGamers, and you know, if you want to either help show your support by donating. Also, I'll be adding in my link for my GoFundMe for the fundraiser there. So again, show your support. All 100% of the proceeds, I am not taking any of it. 100% actually goes just directly to AbleGamers. So excited about that. But gentlemen, I think that is it. Once again, thank you both. If there's any parting words, please, now is your time. But besides that, I hope you have a great day.
I want to give you a shout out, Mike, for
thanks,
not only
dude.
having us on here to talk about it, but for, you know, raising funds for what we do. Like, it's people like you, you know, that keep the lights on for us over at AbleGamers and help us accomplish our mission. And I know a marathon's not an easy task. So, kudos to you, man. Thank you for having us on. Thank you for the support, and thank you for, you know, letting us kind of spread the word about what we do and why we think what we do is important. So I appreciate you as well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks for having us, Mike. And if any of you listeners have $10,000 sitting around, you should go just donate it to Mike's fundraising campaign. Super easy, just real quick. You can briefcase, check, doesn't matter, whatever you got, we'll accept it.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, anything. Venmo, Cash App, anything. Actually, I don't even know if we have Cash App in Canada. That's fine. I see everyone talking about it online. But yeah, that's it, gentlemen. I appreciate you both, to our listeners. Keep being awesome, keep creating, and please keep making your games accessible. We will catch you on the next one. And with that, have a great rest of your day. Bye now. Done, baby. That's sick. Thank you, Bernie.